My name is Yvonne Evans, and for a long time, I felt my worth was measured in stifled laughs and pitying glances. I grew up in an affluent Boston neighborhood, where my passions were judged insignificant. While my sister, Sophia, came home with stories of banking internships and a bright future in finance, I arrived with flour-dusted hands, my head filled with ideas about the perfect caramel consistency or the chemistry of a soufflé. To them, it was as if I spoke of a parallel universe. I was 12 when my father, a respected lawyer averse to anything not considered prestigious, found me in the kitchen. He laughed, a sound laden with incomprehension. "Yvonne, why don't you go read a book? You'll end up becoming one of those roadside cooks." I smiled at the time, but the phrase stuck with me. Sophia, always keen to diminish me, added, "She always smells of burnt sugar, Dad. I think she prefers pots to people." The sting was precise. At that moment, I decided that if I had a world of my own, I would build it in silence, and with whatever flavor I desired. Our family gatherings were parades of others' achievements. Sophia was promoted again. Assistant vice president, earning $180,000 a year, my mother would announce, with a sparkle in her eyes I never saw when the subject was me. And Yvonne? Still with those little cakes. The word little cakes was uttered with a tone of disdain. I graduated with a degree in culinary arts, specializing in advanced pastry, and then began my master's in food science, focusing on innovative textures and flavors. For me, it was passion that drove me. For them, it was an excuse not to get a real job and stop dreaming. I remember a particularly cold Christmas. I was 25, in the middle of my master's, living on a $28,000 a year research scholarship that barely covered my cramped rent. My relatives exchanged expensive gifts, glittering jewelry, designer bags. I had spent days creating a box of artisanal chocolates with exotic flavors for my grandmother, a gift made with care. When she opened it, my cousin Martha commented, with a giggle that pierced me like a thorn, "Oh, Yvonne, you never change. Always so. Sweet and homely. Don't you think it's time to think about a good job, or perhaps a good husband who can give you what you deserve?" Sweet was a euphemism for naive and poor, homely for lacking ambition. My face burned, but I just smiled and said, "I'm busy with research." Sophia pulled me aside after dinner, her voice full of false concern. She was radiant, showing off an engagement ring that must have been worth a fortune, perhaps $70,000. "Yvonne, honestly, you need to try harder. Why don't you try being a chef in a big restaurant? I don't know, something that makes real money. This pastry chef thing, it's for people who don't want to live life." She made a vague gesture with her hand, as if my life were a worthless draft. "You're almost 30. People will start to think you're, well, strange. And worse, a failure who smells of cake." "My research is important, Sophia," I replied, my voice firmer than I expected. "I'm working on something that could change how people think about food and sustainability." She scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Sure, Yvonne. Keep deluding yourself. Nobody cares about your experimental cupcakes. Money moves the world, Yvonne, not sugar." She turned and went to show off her ring to the rest of the family, leaving me there, the echo of her words piercing me. I felt a chill down my spine, a mixture of anger, helplessness, and profound loneliness. At that moment, the seed of silent revenge began to sprout. It wouldn't be a revenge of shouts, but of unquestionable results, with the taste of the sweetest and most unexpected victory. After that Christmas, something broke and rebuilt inside me. The pain of the humiliations became fuel, a burning oven that transformed bitterness into something potentially delicious. I retreated even further into my world of flavors and textures. I finished my master's with honors, but I didn't boast about it. I received some job offers from major patisseries and food laboratories. I accepted a few to gain more experience, but I knew I wanted to build something from scratch, something that was undeniably mine, something that screamed my existence without me needing to raise my voice, something to be savored, not just seen. I decided to move to New York, a place where gastronomy was booming, but where I could blend in. I rented a tiny apartment with an even smaller kitchen, no windows facing the street. My parents disapproved, of course. New York? Why didn't you stay closer to us? Your sister is getting married soon. My mother lamented on the phone, her voice with that martyred tone. It seems like you're running away, Yvonne. You're not like Sophia, so confident, so accomplished. I didn't correct her. Perhaps I was running from suffocating expectations and Sophia's shadow. In my first years in New York, the struggle was constant. I took odd jobs as a freelance pastry chef for small events, working in cafes at night to pay the rent. In the cold, hurried early mornings, I dedicated myself to my personal project, a line of gourmet desserts focused on local, seasonal, and sustainable ingredients, using molecular gastronomy techniques to enhance flavors and textures. I saw a gap in the market, sweets that were both a work of art and a conscious experience, and my mind was obsessed with filling it. I slept very little, my diet based on strong coffee and whatever was left of my experiments. There were moments when despair hit hard, but the memory of condescending glances, the words creative and failure, and the jokes about my secondhand electric oven gave me the strength to continue. They were the yeast for my engine. I didn't seek investors or present my idea at events. I wanted to prove to myself that I was capable, without external validation. My only partner was my tiny kitchen. The recipes were my diary, my deepest thoughts, my secret hopes. I took small steps, one flavor at a time, testing, adjusting. It was a solitary endeavor, but with each small advance, I felt a pure satisfaction, a quiet joy that no words of praise from my family could ever give me. At 28, my first product was ready. It was a line of macarons with unusual flavors, lavender and orange blossom honey, pink peppercorn and dark chocolate, basil and Sicilian lemon, and a melt-in-your-mouth texture. They were made with organic ingredients and a technique that allowed me to produce them on a small scale, maintaining quality. I launched them discreetly, through word of mouth in small local farmers markets and an anonymous online store. The name I chose for my venture was Éclat, brilliance, or splendor in French. Simple, elegant, and with no connection to my real name. The idea was that it would spread on its own merit, if it spread at all. I had no great expectations, just the hope that perhaps a few lovers of high-end pastry would find it appealing. To my surprise, the response was immediate and overwhelming. Small gourmet coffee shops, exclusive tea stores, and even some famous chefs began seeking out Éclat macarons. I received feedback emails praising the originality of the flavors, the perfection of the textures, and the elegant packaging. Demand grew exponentially. I couldn't sleep, working feverishly to fulfill all orders, to scale production without losing quality, and to experiment with new flavors. My tiny apartment transformed into my headquarters. 6 months after the launch, one of the world's largest luxury hotel chains, Grandeur Hospitality Group, contacted me. They wanted a demonstration and then a meeting. I took the subway to their Manhattan headquarters. I remember sitting in the Grandeur boardroom, feeling the thick carpet under my worn shoes, while executives in impeccable suits looked at me with a mixture of curiosity and admiration. They didn't know who I was. To them, I was just Yvonne Evans, the mind behind Éclat. Yvonne, said the CEO, an elegant woman, what you've created here is revolutionary. It's a line of confectionery that can change the gastronomic experience for our guests globally. We're willing to invest heavily. We want Éclat to be our exclusive supplier for all our hotels and resorts. We're talking about an initial investment round of $10 million. My eyes widened. It was more money than I had ever dreamed of seeing in my entire life. I maintained my composure, a subtle smile on my face, and said, "I appreciate the offer. I'd be happy to collaborate." The Grandeur Hospitality Group investment changed everything. I hired my first team of pastry chefs and managers, rented a modern industrial kitchen and a real office, with windows and a spectacular view of the New York skyline. Éclat grew explosively. In 2 years, we had hundreds of corporate clients, including some of the largest hotel chains and airlines. We signed multi-million-dollar contracts, some in the range of $75 million per year. My company, still operating under the name Éclat Fine Confectionery Incorporated, was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. At 30, I was a CEO. My life on the outside remained surprisingly the same. I still drove my old 2008 car. I didn't wear designer clothes, preferring my chef's uniforms or comfortable jeans. I flew economy. I didn't need to prove anything to anyone, especially my family. Éclat's resounding success was my answer, and it was silent to them for now. I still showed up at family dinners, a ritual I kept not for them, but for a part of me that still hoped they would truly see me one day. The questions remain the same. "Yvonne, are you still living in New York? Why don't you come home? Don't you go to conferences? Don't you talk to anyone? Your sister is always traveling for business, closing important deals worth millions." Sophia, now an executive director, always had a grand story of a big deal she closed. My silence was interpreted as a lack of achievements, an existential void. I remember a Thanksgiving dinner, the turning point. My Uncle Robert, showing off his Rolex, leaned across the table. "So, Yvonne, I hear you're still with your sweets. Can you make that carrot cake Grandma loved?" Laughter echoed. My sister added, with false concern, "Oh, Uncle, Yvonne is on too high a level for carrot cakes. She works with different things that don't make real money." She winked at her husband, David. I just smiled, took a sip of water, and said, "Perhaps. Bring me Grandma's recipe someday, Uncle." I owed no one an explanation. Over time, rumors about a new luxury confectionery that was revolutionizing the market in New York began to surface in my relatives' conversations. They had no idea that this company was mine. My mother once commented to the neighbor, "It seems New York is good for luxury chefs, isn't it? That éclat, it's growing so much. They say their sweets are even served on private jets. Your sister Sophia is trying to close a deal with them, but it's difficult. They're very exclusive." Sophia nodded, agreeing. They didn't know I was the founder. The name Éclat was known, but the face behind it, Yvonne Evans, was a mystery. My victories were mine, and mine alone. I didn't share the news when Éclat closed an $85 million contract with a major airline, nor when our market valuation reached $600 million, nor when a conglomerate tried to buy us for $1 billion, and I refused. What would be the point? They wouldn't believe me, or they'd try to diminish it, say it was luck, that I had help, that I should have gotten married. My mother would say I was boasting. My sister would say I was making it up. I learned to savor my achievements in private. My team respected me. My partners trusted me. That was enough. It was Mom's birthday dinner. I arrived on time, wearing a simple blue dress. My mother greeted me with a quick hug, her eyes searching for Sophia. "Yvonne, it's good you came. Sophia and David are about to arrive. David's family will come too." It was always like this. I was the prologue, Sophia the main attraction. The table was set. Forced laughter and empty conversations filled the space. Uncles, aunts, cousins who barely knew my name, but knew everything about Sophia's career. I sat in my place, listening to stories of others' successes. Sophia and David arrived shortly after, along with Jonas and Marissa. David was very well liked by my family. Marissa, David's mother, was a very elegant woman, And Jonas was a man of few words, serious, but very respected. He was the personification of the success my family valued so much. The dishes began to be served. Then Jonas, David's brother, leaned across the table to my father. "Mr. Evans, I need your opinion. We were closing a big deal this week. Do you know Éclat Fine Confectionery? It's a luxury confectionery company that's revolutionizing the market. Their creations are incomparable, served in the most exclusive hotels and on private jets. The founder, an incredibly talented woman, kept the company private for years, resisted billion-dollar offers. Rumors say she refused a $1 billion offer last year. I, myself, am trying to establish a long-term partnership with them. She's a genius. She doesn't like to be in the spotlight, but her work is undeniable, and the company's current market value is estimated at over $1 billion. He looked at me. Yvonne, you work with sweets, right? Have you heard of them? I felt all eyes turn to me. My mother looked at me as if deciphering a riddle. Finally, the attention was on me. Sophia, next to David, turned pale. I looked at Jonas, then at Sophia, and finally at my father. With a calm and serene smile, I said, "Yes, I have heard of them. In fact, Jonas, I am the owner of Éclat." The room plunged into absolute silence. It was a heavy silence, laden with unsaid truths, years of prejudice, underestimation, and an unexpected turnaround. Sophia's face was white as paper. Mom stammered, "Yvonne, you're joking, right?" I rose slowly, my napkin folded and carefully placed on the plate. "No, Mom. I need to go. I have a meeting early tomorrow." I walked towards the door, feeling their eyes follow me. The same people who had spent years ignoring me were now desperate to redefine me, but I wasn't there to help them. I got into my old car, the same car that was the subject of so many jokes. The engine started smoothly. I sat there for a moment, my hands on the steering wheel. The lights of my parents' house gleamed in the rearview mirror. Sophia was probably trying to create a new narrative, one that kept her as the protagonist. But this time, the pen was in my hands. I didn't care if they believed me or not. The validation I saw didn't come from them. It never did. It came from every recipe I perfected, from every employee I hired, from every challenge I overcame. The moment of revelation wasn't planned, but when it came, it was like a tide, relentless and undeniable, washing away years of pain and resentment. I didn't need a microphone. The truth just needed a moment. And it did the rest. I drove to the airport, windows open, the cold Boston air on my skin. There was a freedom in no longer needing to explain myself, a deep peace in finally leaving behind the weight of a room that was never built for me. Later, I received a message from Jonas, David's brother. "Yvonne, I'm sorry if I caused any embarrassment tonight. I truly admire what you've built. This is incredible. I'd like to talk more with you." I looked at the message for a long time. I replied, "Don't worry, Jonas." It was liberating. "Let's schedule a meeting." He read it instantly. "Of course, tell me the day and I'll schedule it." That was enough. I lay in bed hours later, the ceiling above me a silent canvas for my memories. I remembered being 10 years old, sketching new flavors while my sister was praised for getting perfect grades. I remembered the times my creations were considered too good to be mine. Small wounds, which over the years made me bleed in places no one saw. But today, I no longer bled. I soared. The next morning, a text message from my father. "Why did you never tell us about your company, Yvonne? Is what Jonas said true? That it's worth billions?" I didn't reply. Not everything needs to be a confrontation. Sometimes, the most powerful move is not to explain yourself. It's to walk off the stage in the middle of a performance and let the audience deal with their own silence. For years, I thought my only worth came from proving them wrong. Now I know better. My worth isn't built on their recognition. It never was. It lives in every recipe I perfected in a cramped kitchen when no one believed in me. It lives in every team I built, every decision I made, every risk I took when failure seemed the only certainty. It lives in how I chose not to become bitter, even when they gave me every reason to be. It lives in the silence, in the calm, in my inner strength in me. Thanks for listening to Yvonne's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share to support us in bringing more inspiring stories, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new releases. See you in the next video.